can start, and I would like to show you how easy and quick is Capsule to get installed on Kind. So just a brief introduction, because what is Kind? Kind means Kubernetes in Docker. So it means that we are creating a Docker container that is installing all the basic components of a Kubernetes cluster. So the API server, the controller manager, the scheduler, the kubelet. So you're ending up with a container that is acting like a real Kubernetes cluster. So the question is that a production-grade Kubernetes cluster? Obviously, no. We are using that mostly for development and also for the CI, because Capsule is tested starting from version 1.16 up to the latest one that currently is 1.24. So with Kind, we can automate everything, and it's really cool because in the end, it's like a real Kubernetes on your machine and you can debug it properly. So there are some downsides, obviously, because Capsule, as I told you, is totally relying on the user authentication. And unfortunately, unless you don't have a local identity provider, it means that you cannot use OIDC. So it means that you have to provide certificates to use Kubernetes, to use kubeconfig for Alice and each tenant owner. Or eventually you can delegate everything to user impersonation, kubectl as group. It's not so elegant, but it's work. And what's really cool regarding Kind is that it's able to work everywhere. So it works on your local machine, it works on the CI of GitHub, it can work remotely. So it's really a cool project. And I saw from the beginning the evolution of Kind that was used for the CI process of Kubernetes itself. And it's really great to see that almost is used everywhere, is used by anyone that is providing Kubernetes services like development, consultancy, and so on and so forth. So with that said, let me open my terminal. So this is my laptop. And how can I create a Kind cluster? So let me unset my kubeconfig. I'm using the default one. And what I have to issue is Kind create cluster name Capsule. So as you can see here, Kind is downloading Kindness node v1.24, is preparing the node and writing the kubeadm configuration, because everything is based on top of kubeadm and is waiting to start the control plane. It means the API server, the controller manager, the scheduler, and so on and so forth. So in less than 20 seconds, I'd say, we got a Kubernetes cluster, because if I issue kubectl version, you can see beside the versions queue between my client and the remote API server, we got the 1.24 version. And we got also our node. It's just a single cluster node, but it does the job. So it's perfect. So how can I create how can I install Capsule on Kind? We are supporting several installation processes. Well, the most used one is the one used by Helm. Then we got also customized with a single YAML manifest, or eventually you can clone the repository and you can use the customized file. Or we are supporting also the Juju operator, so you can install Capsule on the canonical Charm Kubernetes distribution, and you can install as Juju operator. For this reason, since I would like to keep it quick, I got Kind locally. I'm going to install using Helm. So Helm Upgrade install. I don't remember. I have to issue Capsule CLASTIX IO, Capsule, the name of the release, then the project. I'm going to specify Capsule system and create namespace. So now with Helm, we are creating the release, we are creating the pods, and in the other pane, I'm going to change the context to show you what we are getting here. So we got the controller manager that is installing in the cluster, and we are waiting Capsule to generate the certificates, because as I told you, Capsule is totally relying on the dynamic admission controllers. It means that we have to manage certificates, and these certificates are required to interact with the API server and to get the requests from the API server. And with that said, we are ready because the release has been installed. And if I issue kubectl get CRDs, custom resource definitions, as you can see here, we got the tenants and the capsule configuration. And with that said, let's imagine that now I'm going to use the user impersonation. So in this pane, I'm Alice of the group capsule.clastix.io, and I try to create a namespace named Solar Development. And it's not going to work because I must have a tenant assigned. And how can I do that? Pretty that simple. So since I'm a cluster administrator, here I'm saying kubectl apply -f API version capsule clastix.io v1 beta 1 kind tenant metadata name solar specification. I'm defining the owners. The owner is a user named Alice. So the tenant has been created. I can retrieve it using kubectl get tenants, or what I prefer is TNT. TNT tenant, you know, it's a game, it's a joke. Anyway, as you can see here now, we got our namespace count equals to 0 because Alice must create their namespaces. So what I have to do is to issue again kubectl as Alice being part of the group capsule clastix.io create namespace solar development, and here it is. So my namespace has been created and I can access that and get my pods or all the resources in this pod, like create also a deployment. And here it is, my deployment. So in the end, you're ending up with a self-service platform where you can create your own namespaces, apply some policies. So in this demo, I'm not showing you how to create policies, but just to show you that everything is working smoothly. So since I talked to you also regarding the certificates, keep in mind that in the repository of Capsule, we got a script that is named create user sh alice solar. So this is a bash script that is taking the name of the user and then the name of the tenant that is generating certificates. But obviously, I have to, everything is fine. I have to set the kubeconfig to the resulting kubeconfig variable to the resulting file. So exporting kubeconfig, now I'm Alice of Solar, and I can get my pods in the Solar development namespace. And here it is. So since I'm using certificates, it's working. If I use user impersonation, it's working. So far, so good. Okay, this demo has finished. Just let me clean up everything. Next slide.